Coolers and long chairs. The whole thing was televised. It was a big, exciting time for the city. It was a week before the paint drying festival. The Fairmount still in existence today. Go check out the lobby of the hotel. They have all the newspaper clippings there documenting the event. We have a new sculpture over here to the left, just been unveiled in the last 2 years. It's called the Stargazer, done by an artist named Pedro Reyes from Mexico City. Made almost entirely out of volcanic rock, with the exception of the star in the figure's hand that's made of carved marble. And over here to the right, you'll see a large bronze statue. That statue, Padua, or St. Anthony. And St. Anthony was a friar in the 12th century from Portugal. That statue was a gift from Portugal. When the Spanish explorers first came upon the river, it happened to be June 13th, 1691, which is the feast day of St. Anthony. So they called the river the San Antonio River. Now, prior to that, the river was known as Yanaguana, which is a Payaya Indian dialect that means place of peaceful waters. It is up to the right here, through the trees up at street level. Normally you can see the top of the church steeple. It's covered in scaffolding at the moment. But that's St. Joseph's Catholic Church up there. It was built in 1868. And it was built by German settlers. Back in the 1800s, this whole area was hugely populated by Germans. They wanted to have a church where they could have mass in their own language. So they built themselves a church. Now to this day, every last Sunday of the month, they do all the services completely in German. They have a choir that comes in by the name of Liederkranz. They sing all the hymns in German as well. I believe that's going to be in a couple weeks. So if you're yearning for a German sermon, you're going to have to wait. That's this little arts and crafts fair over here to the right. It's usually not here. It's only here a few special weekends out of the year. We've been closing up shop today about 5 o'clock, so take advantage of it while it's here. There's some interesting things for sale. Here to the left is the Hilton Palacio del Rio, or Palace on the River. I'll give you a little bit of history behind there. So 1968, we had the World's Fair come to San Antonio. They called it the Hemisphere. We had 7 million people coming to town for Hemisphere over the course of 6 months. We didn't have a whole lot of places to put them. And that hotel was booked solid 14 months before Hemisphere. All 500 rooms were completely booked. Now the big problem with that is there was no hotel there. It was just an empty space. So they needed to get a hotel built very quickly. What they did is they called on a graduate from Texas A&M University by the name of H.P. Zachary. And how he did it is about 8 miles south of here. He constructed every room, complete with a carpet on the floors, pictures on the walls, soaps in the dishes, towels on the racks, Bibles in the drawers. The beds were made. He loaded those rooms on flatbed trucks, drove them into town, hoisted them up by crane, stacked them one on top of another like Lego blocks. That's going in front of the building here. It's going to be on the left over you. Take a look past the first 4 floors. You'll see that every room after that is identical in dimension. And this building is also in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the fastest constructed modular building of its size. They completed the entire project in just 202 working days. And they took weekends off. So it was about 9 months' time when they finished. It was just 3 days before Hemisphere. A really close call. If you look up at each of those rooms out there to the left, you'll see the walls, the floors, the ceilings, they're all solid concrete. They say that it's soundproofed, fireproof, waterproof, explosion-proof. I don't know if they really tested that last one, but that is a very sturdy building, I'm sure. Now to give you an idea of how impressive it was, that this was built in 202 days. The ticket booth over here to the right is 1 room, 3 windows. That took 18 months to build. Now the next section of the river we're about to get into, just after this bridge, is an area known as La Villita, or Little Village. And this area was settled by the Spanish soldiers and their families back in the 1700s. If you go to street level here, nice little art galleries and boutiques, good places to shop up there. Got 2 restaurants coming up on the left. Both of those used to be German homes back in the 1850s. They were the homes of the Nascio and Bach families. Come around the bend, we'll be getting into the Arneson Theater. It's an open-air theater. It seats 800 people. It's named after Edwin P. Arneson. He was the chief engineer of the Works Project Administration that completed the Riverwalk back in 1941. If you're looking to get to the shops at La Villita, the stairs over here to the left will take you right there. Over here to the right, you might recognize the stage for Miss Congeniality. We had Sandra Bullock up there dancing around in a bathing suit.
Check, mic check. I am a baritone. Check, check. Testing 1 2 1 2.
They get ready for some music today. They're going to have Irish music.
Come back at 1 o'clock.
Most of the day long.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
We're also going to be re-dyeing the river green today at 1. We're heading under Rosita's Bridge. Rosita Fernandez played on that stage for 26 years in the show Fiesta Noche del Rio, which is still in production today. They finished season number 66 last August. They'll be here again in June. They play every Friday and Saturday night during the summer. And over here to the right's the Briscoe Western Art Museum that just recently opened. It's got a lot of different artwork showing the history of the West, as well as an interactive diorama. The Battle of the Alamo, Pancho Villa's saddle, and Santa Anna's sword are on display in there. We're going to be heading under the Presses Street Bridge coming up. This is a solid iron bridge built in the 1890s. It's called an iron ornamental bridge. There are 10 of these left in the United States. 3 are on the San Antonio River. Now this one sits pretty low, so we're going to steer right through the middle of it. You might think you're going to hit your head on it, but trust me, if you don't stand up, you'll be fine. I, on the other hand, may not fare as well. Go right through the middle here. And just up ahead on the right, you'll see a small island with an iron sculpture on it. The sculpture is known as Father Massenet's Table. That was a gift from artist Rolando Briceño in 1991. Put there to commemorate the first Catholic Mass that took place in San Antonio on June 13, 1691. If you take a close look at the island, you see it's completely comprised of that cypress tree's root system. And it's also a heart-shaped island. It's known as Marriage Island. We have over 300 weddings that take place there every year. We had 4 yesterday. The other side of the bridge, we have Divorce Island. Okay, a busier island. Now this part of the river is actually known as Old Mill Crossing. Back in the 1800s, Nat Lewis had his mill on the right bank. He would grind grain for the settlers. And this was also a very shallow part of the river. Settlers could cross, they'd water their horses. Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders, used to train right this area. On the right, we have the Westin Hotel that was built in 1999. It's a really new addition of the Riverwalk. Surrounded by all these older buildings, just past the Westin there. On the right, there's a darker red brick building. It used to be the San Antonio Drug Company from 1963. Now it's the Homewood Suites. Got remodeled in 95. Down here on the left is the Tower Life building. This one lights up the San Antonio skyline. It was built in 1927 and 1928. It used to be called the Smith-Young Tower. If you look all the way up to the top of the tower, you'll see these concrete structures jutting out of each of the 8 corners. Those are known as gargoyles. They serve as a rain drainage system, so when it rains, the water comes out of the gargoyles' mouths into the gutters below. If you look just above the trees over here to the left, you'll see these angry little scary faces kind of snarling down at you. Those are known as grotesques. Now the whole building is an example of neo-Gothic architecture. The original owners, Smith and Young, were fairly superstitious. They put all these things in place to ward off evil spirits and bad business. Unfortunately, 1 year after the building opened, the stock market crashed. In 1929, it cost them over $3 million to build it. They had to sell it for less than $300,000. So it doesn't say much for gargoyles. I'll show you a neat little effect when we come out from under the bridge. Take a look back at the Tower Life building, and you'll notice that it's transformed into a ship. It's like it's coming onto the river right behind us. You got to use your imagination just a little bit. Just imagine a little Leonardo DiCaprio hanging off the front. That helps. Now here on the right's the International Center. That was the San Antonio Main Public Library until 1998. Now it has the offices of the San Antonio Conventions Bureau. Also right above one of our marinas where we dock some of our boats at night. And directly in front of us is Old Big Red. It's the Bexar County Courthouse, built in 1896. It's made of red sandstone and granite, one of the oldest and largest continuously operating courthouses in Texas. As in case there's any cross traffic here, I have to honk the horn. Don't be alarmed. So this part of the river that we've been on, this is all the natural flow of the river. It's a natural horseshoe bend. The river flows to the left. We're headed to the right into a man-made part. We're entering into the flood channel. We're just leaving through Floodgate 4. Now, when it rains really hard, Floodgate 4 will rise up out of the water like a drawbridge. Keeps the water at the exact same level in the horseshoe bend at all times. There's never any flooding back there. The hotels, the mall, the restaurants, they're all completely safe from flooding. Now, it doesn't rain very often in San Antonio. In the last 2 days. Looks like it will in the next little while. When it does rain, it can rain really hard, really fast. And flooding used to be a huge problem for downtown. In 1921, we had a flood that caused a lot of deaths, a lot of property damage. So the Army Corps of Engineers came in here, built this flood channel for us, and then put an end to all our downtown flooding problems. So there were a lot of prominent businessmen that wanted to fill in and pave over that other part of the river. We were just on room for more buildings, streets. But lucky for us, two women had the foresight to put a stop to that. It was Emily Edwards and Raina Maverick Green. They formed the San Antonio Conservation Society in 1924. And a few years after that, there was a graduate from the University of Texas by the name of Robert H.H. Hubman. And he designed the entire Riverwalk at the age of 27. Presented his plans to the city. The city approved it in 1929. Still wasn't completed until 41 after the Works Project Administration took over. Hubman is still known as the father of the Riverwalk. He designed every walkway and staircase, every planter, lamppost, and bench. Everything you see in the Horseshoe Bend is pretty much Hubman's design. Now, we did design this walkway over here on the right. That's fairly new. It's been there about 17 years. That was a gift from the Drury Plaza Hotel. It's an 850-foot walkway that connects floodgates 3 and 4. Now you can walk all the way around the horseshoe. And over here to the left, through the trees, that's Main Plaza. Established in 1731 by Spanish settlers from the Canary Islands. It used to be the heart of the city. There's also San Fernando Cathedral back there, built in 1739. It still houses some of the remains of the heroes from the Battle of the Alamo. Now, people always think that the San Antonio River is just a small river. It's man-made, doesn't flow very fast, but it actually starts just about 6 miles north of here on the campus of Incarnate Word University. It comes up through springs from an underground lake known as the Edwards Aquifer, flows through the zoo, through downtown, goes about 230 miles southeast of here where it meets up the Guadalupe River, goes out to the Gulf of Mexico. Now you see that big tree right in front of us? It's the oldest and largest cypress tree in San Antonio. It's over 350 years old, over 9 stories tall. Also known as the sniper tree. Back in 1835, there was a Texas patriot by the name of Ben Milam. He was staying at the Veramonte Palace, which was right behind us, and he was shot by a sniper from that tree right there. All right, we're going to go under Floodgate 3. This one comes down like a guillotine. Then we start the random testings all afternoon. Now it takes about 15 minutes for that to come down completely. It does weigh 3 tons. Straight down. Coming up on the right is the Esquire Tavern. That was the first bar on the Riverwalk. They opened the doors in 1933. And they opened the day after Prohibition ended. Pretty much just took down the barbershop pole and it was business as usual. They say it was a speakeasy before that. Also has the longest wooden bar in Texas at 108 feet. And here on the left is the Drury Inn and Suites. That used to be the City Public Service building back in 1921. To give you an idea of the severity of that flood, if you look to the top of the first floor windows, right where the 3 shields are, that's how high the flood of 1921 reached. It was a major flood. It's a great example, though, of how we like to take an old building, give it a second chance at a new life here in San Antonio. Try not to tear anything down if we can. Over here to the right, you'll see tourists in their natural habitat. Another one of our ticket locations here. This one's at the Aztec Theater. Aztec over here to the right was opened in 1926. Used to show silent movies. They just finished about a 3-year-long run with a country and western show known as San Antonio Rose Live. They have another live music venue on now. One of the last remaining Mayan theme theaters left in the United States. We're about to head under Salinas Bridge, named after late Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla. She was photographed on this bridge, as well as Jennifer Lopez, who played her in the movie Selena. So partially filmed right up here. The beige building over here on the right, that's the Mocara Hotel now, but it used to be the home of the L. Frank Saddlery. From 1901 to 1923, they outfitted Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders, as well as Mexican revolutionary Francisco Pancho Villa. Right before World War I, they provided boots, saddles, and harnesses for the United States Army. And on the left is La Mansión del Rio, or Mansion on the River. It used to be the site of the St. Mary's School for Boys back in 1853. Then it was the St. Mary's Academy and the St. Mary's Law School. In 1966, 2 former students from the law school purchased the building. They remodeled it, opened it up for Hemisphere in 1968. Still has some of the original artifacts from the boys' school in the lobby and in the lounge. We're going to head under the Navarro Street Bridge. When we come out from under this bridge, I'm going to show you a really cool optical illusion. We come out from under the bridge, everyone take a look up and to the left, and where once stood a 26-story, 3-dimensional building, will be replaced by a 26-story, 2-dimensional wall. Looks like it might fall right down on top of you. Take a look up and to the left. And that's the Nix Hospital right there. It's built in 1930. One of the country's first full-service, fully air-conditioned hospitals. Had everything from ambulance service to daycare to indoor parking. Carol Burnett was born in that hospital, as well as Oliver North. This part of the river here is known as South Bank. That's where you can find a lot of the nightlife on the Riverwalk. Relatively quiet now. Give it another 8 or 9 hours. People will be lined up on the sides of the river, screaming at every boat that goes by, throwing things at the boat drivers. I don't recommend that. That's why I work the early shift. Come back here and throw things on boat drivers. All right, in front of us is the Hyatt Regency. That was built in 1981. The Alamo is just on the other side of the Hyatt. If you're interested in going, this is a great way to get there. So come around the bend, take a look to the left, and you'll see these glass doors with the headers that read Paseo del Alamo. It's the passageway to the Alamo. It's the quickest way to get there from the river level. Beautiful walk. The river goes through the building. You go through those doors, you walk through a series of waterfalls and gardens. You get to the top of which are right across the street from the front of the Alamo. This is where they're going to be doing a 10-boat charter here in the next half an hour or so. Load people up in these bars here. Take them around the river while they dine the river green. It's going to be loud. We're throwing things, beads, shirts, and stuff. It'll be fun. Now, an interesting side note about the Hyatt Regency, when it was being designed, it had to meet strict height requirements. It wasn't allowed to cast a shadow on the Alamo at sunset. This building over here on the right, this is the Casino Club building. It was opened in 1927. It used to be a German social club that later became apartments. There was a famous author that lived there by the name of Alex Haley. He wrote a lot of books that became movies. Probably most notably was Roots. He lived there. Also actor Tommy Lee Jones lived in that building for just a little while. Now we're getting into my favorite part of the Riverwalk. This is River Square. This is where you're going to find the majority of the restaurants, all the tantalizing aromas. Now we also offer a dining boat service. We can go to any one of these restaurants and set that up. You can get a breakfast boat, lunch, dinner. If you just want cocktails, you can get a cocktail cruise. That was on hold for a while. It's finally back. Nice way to enjoy the Riverwalk. Now the Riverwalk first opened in 1941. It didn't look a whole lot like this. It was more of a city park. A place to take the family out, have a picnic. But the father and designer of the Riverwalk, Robert H.H. Huckman, He had a different vision for his design, so he put his office here. The building on the right, that's the Clifford Building. Hugman's name is written above the first floor. And he put his office there to prove to everyone that a business could thrive on the Riverwalk, that he wasn't afraid of flooding. And Peter thought he was crazy at first. It took a few years before the businesses started to follow suit. This restaurant over here on the right is Casa Rio, first restaurant on the Riverwalk. They opened the doors in 1946. They were the first ones to do the riverboat tours, as well as the dining boats. They also celebrated their 77th anniversary back in October.